And tonight, extra military personnel are in central Indiana at Camp Atterbury.
They're helping prepare the facility to take in thousands of people evacuated from Afghanistan. Camp Atterbury is about 25 miles south of Indianapolis, primarily in Johnson County.
WRTV's Cornelius Hawker is there live tonight. Cornelius, this is one of 8 U.S. military facilities taking in refugees.
Yeah, that's right. Camp Atterbury was approved by the DOD this week to temporarily house Afghan evacuees. Governor Holcomb saying around 5,000 people will be coming to Camp Atterbury sometime this week. That includes American citizens, Afghan allies who helped us during the military effort, and anyone that the U.S. government deemed as a vulnerable Afghan. Now, before landing in the U.S., planes carrying evacuees have stopped in European countries where they've been going through in-depth security and counterterrorism screenings. This is video from the Navy that shows a group that stopped in Spain after leaving Afghanistan earlier this week. Now, at these stops, the refugees also undergo full medical evaluations, and they're also offered the COVID-19 vaccine. The 4-step vetting and background check process also includes evaluations once they arrive in the U.S. and again at Camp Atterbury. Now, after 14 days, evacuees who meet health and visa requirements will be able to relocate, with officials saying they're hoping to have non-governmental agencies resettle these people within 10 weeks. Mark?
Our Cornelius Hawker live for us tonight at Camp Atterbury with the latest there. Thank you, Cornelius. Many Hoosiers want to know how they can help these refugees. The Indiana National Guard is compiling a database, so you want to call them at the number there that you see on the screen. If you're interested in helping or making a donation, that number is 317-247-3559. Your information will be put in a database and you will be contacted at the appropriate time. Soldiers and medical personnel from other military installations around the country are also arriving at Camp Atterbury. Some have already touched down here from Fort Knox and Fort Bliss. Meantime, the owner of Wild Geese Bookstore in Franklin is offering to take your donations to Atterbury. She's collaborating with the USO to provide basic needs to the men and women working at Camp Atterbury. She says she's always looking for ways to help those serving our country.
This is not about us at all. This is just, we're here and we're downtown. If you want to drop something off that's on their USO wish list, we'll be happy to deliver it for you. But this is really about the people who work there.
If you want to drop off items to be taken to Camp Atterbury, the Wild Geese Bookshop is on South Water Street in Franklin. They're open from 10 to 6, Monday through Saturday, and again from noon to 4 on Sunday. WRTV cameras were rolling as the evacuees arrived about 90 minutes ago. They are now on their way by bus to Camp Atterbury in Johnson County, not far from Edinburgh.
And the evacuees fled Afghanistan as the United States pulled out of the Middle Eastern country for the first time in 20 years, ending America's longest war.
WRTV's Cornelius Hawker is live at Camp Atterbury for us tonight, right now, awaiting the arrival of those evacuees.
And Cornelius, what is the scene like there now? Are you seeing people coming there?
You know, not a lot's happening right now, but we know over the last several days, military personnel have been working hard and quickly to get Camp Atterbury ready for those Afghan refugees. Now, as you saw, we do have some video of that big military plane landing. If you can put that up, I'll tell you where that plane came from. The Afghan refugees, they actually stopped in Europe, and that's where a lot of the screenings were done. So full medical screenings, background checks, counterterrorism, different things like that. And then they got back on the plane to come here. Now, we do know that after a 14-day quarantine, evacuees who meet certain health requirements and visa requirements will be free to relocate. And groups like Exodus Refugee are ready to help that process. Their executive director explained some of the support they provide.
We're getting them appointments with Social Security to get their Social Security card, getting the kids enrolled in school, getting the parents into English classes here at our office, finding them jobs, getting them into mental health care if they need it, connecting them with primary care physicians.
No, now we're going to be out here until those refugees arrive. You can see right behind me, that is Camp Atterbury. And they left Indianapolis around 5:05. So to get down here, it's about an hour or so. There was a huge caravan, I counted 7 in the video that I saw. Could have been more. They were being escorted by police. Also out here, I've seen the American Red Cross. We know that the Department of Defense asked them to help with the Afghan evacuees, bringing them here as well as over in Europe. So yeah, we're going to be out here. We're going to have that video for you. And if there's anything else you guys need to know, we'll come back during this newscast to show you. Mark, Amanda.
Our Cornelius Hawker live for us at Camp Atterbury. Governor Holcomb saying now's the time to roll out that Hoosier hospitality.
Afghan evacuees are now here in Indiana. WRTV was the only station on the scene when hundreds of people who evacuated from Afghanistan as the country fell to the Taliban touched down right here in Indiana for the first time. Those evacuees will continue to get acclimated today to their new temporary home at Camp Atterbury. Communities in Johnson, Bartholomew, and Brown counties surrounding the National Guard post are also getting ready to welcome those Afghans to right here in central Indiana. WRTV spoke to some Hoosiers at the weekly farmers market down in Edinburgh. It's the closest city, or town rather, to Camp Atterbury, and the town's leaders are working closely with the military to provide support for the evacuees while they're here. The people we spoke to hope the Afghans will feel welcome, and they say that they hope some of them will choose to make Indiana their permanent home.
I would absolutely hope that if, roles were reversed and that we were in that position, that we could come to a town that was absolutely so welcoming. And here, I feel like this is a really community-oriented town.
We need people in our workforce right now, and we're hopefully that they'll be able to join us because we need that.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
There's our own people that won't work, so we'll take whoever will, and hopefully, so.
With open arms.
Yes.
The evacuees will quarantine at Camp Atterbury for 2 weeks. After that, if they meet health and visa requirements, they'll be eligible for resettlement, either here in Indiana or with family and friends in other parts of the country. The military says Camp Atterbury will host up to 5,000 evacuees in the coming weeks. And just in, the Indiana National Guard has released this visuals from inside of Camp Atterbury, showing the facilities where the evacuees from Afghanistan are staying. In addition to various health screenings, the evacuees are also being tested for COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccinations will also be offered while at camp.
Right now, hundreds of evacuees from Afghanistan are settling into a whole new world.
And at least for the time being, the center of that world is right here in central Indiana. Thank you for joining us at 5. I'm Amanda Starantino.
And I'm Mark Mullins. We are learning more about what it's been like for those evacuees from the moment they touched down in Indianapolis about 24 hours ago to their arrival at Camp Atterbury in Johnson County. Let's begin by winding back to Thursday evening. WRTV was the only local station there as the C-130 plane carrying the first group of Afghan evacuees arrived at Indianapolis International. Our camera couldn't get too close, but we did catch a glimpse of the men, women, and children as they got off the plane. Today, the National Guard sent us pictures providing a closer view of that scene. The evacuees are part of a larger group of Afghans who had to be evacuated as their country fell to the Taliban. Soldiers with the 1st Cavalry Division and Indiana National Guard greeted them and led them to the buses that were parked nearby. Less than an hour later, we saw the buses rolling into Camp Atterbury. This is where the Afghans will begin their safe resettlement into the United States. Troops at Atterbury will provide transportation, temporary housing, medical screening, and logistics support as part of Operation Allies Welcome. The evacuees will quarantine at Camp Atterbury for 2 weeks. After that, if they meet health and visa requirements, they'll be eligible for resettlement, either in Indiana or with family or friends in other parts of the country. The military says Camp Atterbury will host up to 5,000 evacuees in the coming weeks. Many Hoosiers want to know how they can help these refugees. The Indiana National Guard is compiling a database. Call them at that number there on your screen if you're interested in helping or making a donation. That number is 317-247-3559. Your information will be put into a database and you will be contacted at the appropriate time. One important note about donations, the Red Cross here in Indiana reached out to us today to let us know that they do not have the capacity to process or distribute donated items for the evacuees. They do have 8 volunteers currently assisting with the operation to provide them temporary housing and care. Afghanistan are wrapping up their first full day at Camp Atterbury. The Indiana National Guard shared these images of their arrival yesterday. The Guard will provide transportation, temporary housing, medical screening, and logistics support as people begin their resettlement in the United States. The organization Exodus Refugees says it is already getting a flood of messages from Hoosiers who want to help the evacuees. For donation and volunteer information, go to exodusrefugee.org, or if you'd like to donate directly to Camp Atterbury, contact Laura from the National Guard. The number's there on the screen, 317-247-3559.
Hoosiers have stepped up in a big way to show hospitality toward thousands of Afghan refugees who are now in central Indiana. We've shared with you the effort to educate, clothe, house, and resettle these new neighbors. And tonight we're getting a look inside Camp Atterbury, a temporary home for families who had to leave everything behind. WRTV's Rachel Wilkerson joins us from southern Johnson County tonight.
For the first time, I was able to see life inside Camp Atterbury. Children and soldiers were playing outside, things were flowing smoothly, and evacuees shared their stories about why they wanted to come to the U.S. Solman and Arzo Asbarkada were getting ready to tie the knot in Kabul the day the Taliban took over. They grabbed only a few clothing items and made their way to the airport to U.S. safety.
My father-in-law worked with the army, and the most dangerous was for her because the family of the army people was not safe.
So he promised her a new life here. They were granted permission to get married last week in a chapel at Camp Atterbury.
And thank you for U.S. people that make me be in my word.
We saw happy faces throughout the camp today. Children were laughing and smiling as they adjust to life in the U.S.
They've adapted really well, and we don't give them as much credit. We don't give kids as much credit as they deserve because, like, some of the adults, I feel like, are taking it a little harder, and it's harder for them to assimilate and learn just how life is here. But the kids have been doing really good.
Sarah Jalel and her parents fled Afghanistan when she was 5 years old. She says it's an honor to come back and teach English and other life skills to about 80 Afghan students multiple times a week.
I told them, like, education, like, get your education. You can become anything you want here. As long as you try.
Soldiers say they're doing all they can to make the evacuees feel safe and secure. The base currently has around 6,700 Afghans, and another 150 are expected to arrive tonight. Aaron Batt with the Department of Homeland Security says it's a lot, but feels they have a system in place now to handle it.
It isn't overwhelming, and the reason I say that is because the opportunity to interact with some of our guests and hear their stories and realize the impact that we're having gives you energy.
Rachel, thank you. And you can learn more about donation efforts to get the refugees winter clothes, baby supplies, and more right now at WRTV.com.
The opportunity you have to serve, whether it's going to Camp Atterbury or helping them out within your community, I would encourage people to do so.
And when the opportunity came to help those at Camp Atterbury with medical needs, a team from Franciscan Health jumped at the opportunity. Our Nikki Dementri speaks with one of the nurses tonight who is helping evacuees at Camp Atterbury settle in.
Helping where needed.
I felt like it was just the right thing to do.
A team of 6 healthcare workers from Franciscan Health spent a day providing medical care and vaccination needs to the more than 6,000 Afghan evacuees at Camp Atterbury.
We were just able to actually see a couple of people in our clinic. They were able to bring their family, but in vaccination, hundreds. I mean, we saw that kind of was a revolving door.
Angela Bertina says she got a call to assist last week. And in this climate, finding a team of 6 nurses proved difficult with the surge in COVID cases.
When I got the call, they said, can you find 6 people? Finding 6 nurses in today's day and age in healthcare in a hospital is pretty difficult to do. We're all stretched pretty thin, but I was able to easily find, 6 people and kind of said, clear our schedules for the next couple of days. We don't know when we're going to be needed or what we're going to be doing, but let's make it happen.
As of Tuesday, officials at Camp Atterbury say more than 11,600 vaccinations were given to evacuees, including measles and mumps.
We heard from the people who were on base there that getting them vaccinated and those screening exams is really one of the first steps of getting them off into a more normal life.
Bertina says she's grateful to play a role in assisting evacuees in their new home.
I have a passion for our families, for mothers and babies, and that's the work we get to do every day. But to do it outside of the hospital walls in the community, I thought was just something that I felt called to do.
Working for you, Nikki Dementri, WRTV.
And Bertina says she is in contact with officials at Camp Atterbury and the State Health Department if asked again to help. And she says without question, she and her team will be there.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
The base has been very good, very generous.
Tonight, we're hearing for the first time from Afghan refugees staying at Camp Atterbury. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Nicole Griffin.
And I'm Mark Mullins. Today, our WRTV got a first-hand look at the conditions inside the base. About 6,700 refugees are staying there, with another plane of 150 expected to arrive in central Indiana tonight.
WRTV's Rachel Wilkerson reports transitioning from life in Afghanistan to the U.S. has been a challenge for some, but one that's been worth it.
Life inside Camp Atterbury is full of smiles, laughter, and gratitude. 40% of its population is under the age of 14. We saw children running around, playing with one another, and there is respect between the soldiers and evacuees that they call guests. You can see a soldier here playing volleyball with a few of the guests, and this is a common sight that you'll see across base.
The base has been very good, very generous. I think we have everything in abundance. It's from good food to supplies, a lot of open spaces for sports and children. And it's been a good experience.
Aziz Saeed has been at Camp Atterbury for 46 days. He says the hardest part is waiting for resettlement. A plan is now in place from the time they arrive. They go through medical and biometric screening before going to their barrack, also known as their new community.
Those barracks can range from 500 to, on the north side of the camp, we have over 3,000.
While there's not much privacy inside their new homes, a lot of time is spent in a classroom.
Some of the adults, I feel like, are taking it a little harder, and it's harder for them to assimilate and learn just how life is here. But the kids have been doing really good, and they're teachable. Like, you can teach them different things, and they will take that. And so in class, I really try to, we try to teach them different things about culture here and just life here.
For Sarah Jalel, helping teach English is personal. She fled Afghanistan with her family when she was 5 years old. Now she's able to help hundreds adjust to life in the U.S.
Their life was so different back there.
Artwork displayed in one of the intake centers shows the children will never forget their homeland. Many pay tribute to it. I Love America could also be seen. In Arzo Azkarkata's home language, she told us she's so glad to be here and she's happy. Her husband Solman was worried about their safety in Afghanistan since her family worked with the U.S. military. He promised to marry her once they got here, a promise he was able to keep. They tied the knot in a chapel last week at Camp Atterbury. Now they're waiting for a home in their dream state, California. Working for you, Rachel Wilkerson, WRTV.
And a love story to boot. Meals served at the base reflect Afghan culture. The guests are served 3 meals a day, and they have 24 access to snack stations. Town halls are held 3 times a week, giving evacuees a chance to express concerns or share recommendations. Welcome back. Changing lives. It's one way a Central Indiana nonprofit feels their work has given back to the community.
As WRTV reporter Nikki Dementri told you earlier this week, the need for winter shoes is great at Camp Atterbury.
Tonight, she's spotlighting Changing Footprints, who is looking to the community to help give them back through shoe donations.
Brad Jackson is a retired teacher.
Cowboy boots. We love cowboy boots.
He spends much of his time now giving back.
When a load comes in from somebody, sometimes we go through and find something that we're looking for that day to fill that order.
Jackson is part of Changing Footprints. The volunteer-based Central Indiana nonprofit collects, refurbishes, and redistributes footwear from sneakers to dress shoes to organizations in need.
When I heard Afghanistan, that the people were going to come here, refugees were going to come here, immediately I thought, maybe there's a place for us in this.
So far, Changing Footprints donated 2,000 shoes to Afghan evacuees at Camp Atterbury through Team Rubicon. Now, the mission is to provide another 1,000 pairs of winter-ready footwear to the remaining 5,000 evacuees on base.
For this special project, we know they're going to people who need them, and they need them now. And so that does make it really exciting.
There are about 4,000 shoes in these garbage bags. Now, the hope is that some of these shoes, maybe 400, 600 of them, go to men, women, and children at Camp Atterbury.
It really is full circle.
16 years ago, the nonprofit was started by Bob Broughton and a colleague after they saw a news story on Afghan children without shoes.
And here we are 16 years later, and it could be some of those same people who are now going to be immigrants to America, and we have our opportunity to help them here in person. It's a great opportunity.
This project is one of the largest it'll tackle this year, and the nonprofit is asking the community helps by donating new or used shoes or their time through volunteering.
But what we most need for the next couple weeks are weather outside shoes. So that would be dress shoes without heels, casual shoes, tennis shoes, and potentially snow boots.
This year alone, Changing Footprints is providing 75,000 total pairs of shoes statewide. And by next August, the organization is on track to donate 500,000 shoes since it started.
Yeah, we do feel like we're helping change lives. There are so many organizations out there that are doing what we do in their own area, but we're proud to make a difference.
Working for you, Nikki Dementry, WRTV.
Changing Footprints asks those who would like to donate shoes to help the cause to do so directly at their drop-off locations rather than to armories. We have drop-off locations and how you can sign up to volunteer at WRTV.com. The organization is also looking for volunteers to help sort and clean donated shoes.